Welcome back to Dan Duncan's Guitars. Give us one of those. Today we're going to be looking at restringing a guitar. This is my technique and hopefully it helps you at home. Thanks for watching. So this is the basic tools that you need for the trade. Looking through this is yeah, it's a pretty simple process, as you can use these type of equipment or anything that you have handy. So there's my little string winder, set of pliers, with the little cutters on the end as well. I like to use a toothbrush as well. It's good for getting into those hard to reach places. Guitar tuner, of course. So that's a bit silly not to have a tuner. This is the TC Electronics one. I quite like it. Obviously strings. I'm trying out the Ernie Ball ones. Some conditioner as well. It's quite important when you're cleaning the frets. Sorry, the actual fretboard, I should say. It's more about the treatment afterwards. And I do have a Stuart Mac thing, and obviously a cloth to wipe down the body and the fretwork itself. And a fish tank. It's a good view to have whilst you're changing your strings. So I think it's a pretty much a necessary thing. So the first thing we want to do is take off the actual tension off the strings itself. It's very important to do this. You don't want to just be cutting the strings. I've seen so many videos where they just absolutely just take the strings off by high tension, and it's, well, think about this, like the neck is under an incredible amount of force, so just cutting it with pliers, you're releasing that tension all at once, so it's not a good idea. So here I'm just trying to demonstrate loosening each string at a time, not going too crazy, but yeah, just loosening that tension off the neck before we start really undoing them. So these are locking machine heads that I'm using here, but this video will illustrate that you can use them either way. So once we've taken the tension off, we now undo the actual locking mechanisms. So these are hip shots, by the way. So I'm quite a big fan of the hip shot machine heads. They're very good. So how that works is, like, there's a piston that goes up, pushing against the string and pushing that string inside the hole up against the top. So the idea is so they can't move. So this is very handy for someone who's using like a tremolo system as well, and they don't want to have a locking nut on the guitar. So I would highly recommend it. So as you can see, that the strings can sometimes just snap off with tension, but the idea is just to remove them nice and cleanly. But you get a bit of a insight to how easy it is if you don't have too many winds of strings on there. Pretty straightforward procedure, really. And as you can tell, it's like a maintenance thing. Bass strings don't need to be changed as often as guitar strings, but I find guitar strings, they seem to go rusty quite easily, or they start sounding a bit dull over time. So you'll see a lot of musicians will change their strings just before a performance so they get a brighter sound out of the guitar. So moving along to the tailpiece. So this is what they call a tom bridge. So we have an end piece that we're just going to pull the strings through. You might see a little bit there how they're a bit kinked now, nothing too crazy. And now that we've undone them, I'm happy to cut them with the pliers so that we can start removing the strings. Now that we've cut the strings off and removed them, we can start obviously cleaning the body a little bit and going through and just making sure all that gunk has been removed. And I hate to say it, but generally speaking, this is all skin. This is definitely skin that you're taking off. Maybe some dust, a little bit of dust and oil, but it's generally speaking just, yeah, the byproduct of all our flesh coming off onto the guitar. Rock and roll, right? But yeah, you get the general gist of just giving a bit of a wipe over. This is the best opportunity when it comes to the time to clean up this. Now moving on to the top of the guitar neck, and we can see that there's kind of the pattern of like dirt and skin and stuff that's gone between where the strings sit, so that's hiding underneath there. So I like to get a brush and just loosen it up a little bit. I see some people just wiping like crazy in order to pick this stuff up, but I think just a brush is a great way of getting it up. And just dampening the cloth with a tiny bit of dishwashing liquid. And I know some people are going to cringe about that, but depending on the fretboard surface, it's not going to do it any damage. Don't forget that dishwashing liquid's job is to dissolve grease. So we're not saturating it, we're just putting a tiny bit on a wet cloth and wiping it down from there. Now, of course, this is a great opportunity to start cleaning around the actual headstock. There's so many people I see like just change the strings and you're like, man, it's so gross underneath that. Why'd you do that? And it's also a great chance, like I'm using this tool here from Stewart Mac, but you could use any socket set that you like. And the idea here is just to tighten up these nuts. So great maintenance thing. After all, if we're rocking out so hard, we're probably vibrating these nuts and washers so much because, we're hardcore rockers. So yeah, another great opportunity to get this done at the same time. Now, another thing I like to do is use that toothbrush to get around things like the guitar pickup surround rings. It's just, you can wipe away with the cloth like for ages, but just getting that little bit of, see, just in that corner there, just easy to get it up with the toothbrush. Like, honestly, there's so many different household things that are great for using on the guitar, which I get in trouble for all the time because it's like, where did my toothbrush go, or where my nail file go? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe we should get you a new one. And yeah, this is my tribute to Twin Peaks. That's Agent Cooper up there, and I'm just pointing at the lodge symbol. If you've ever watched Twin Peaks by David Lynch, it's phenomenal. But as you can see, it's looking a lot cleaner now. And now I'm going to do some conditioner. I'm using this Dunlop stuff, but it's basically just lemon oil. Some people will swear not to use this. Some people will swear to use it. There's some musicians out there that swear that the mojo is from all the grime that's on the guitar neck, so they're not ever cleaning it. So the technique here I'm using is just a little dab on each in between the fret area. Now, as you can see, I'm not really going crazy. It's basically just to add a little bit of treatment to that fretboard so it doesn't crack and wear over time. So depending on your climate, you may have to do this more often. So I'm not like sanding it in with the cloth or anything like that. I'm just giving it a quick once over so to make sure it gets into that full area of the fretboard between each fret. So we're not necessarily having to do a lot of work here. It's pretty straightforward. You can see even some of the stuff is still coming off on this cloth. I used a new section of it and it still was looking dirty. Yep, pretty straightforward there. So yeah, we're using Ernie Ball slinky top, heavy bottom. So the idea here is we've got a nice thick 52 for the low E. So it's quite thick actually. I like down tuning, so this is a reason I do that. 42 for the A. Some people use this for an E. 30 for the D. 17 for the G. And we've got the 13 for the B string. And then lastly, for the high E, we've got the 10. So, yeah, very heavy strings. Most people use 9 to 46 or 42s, but each their own. I just happen to have built up a strong tolerance. So these Ernie balls I bought from an authentic seller, but you can find counterfeits quite easily. And one way to see the counterfeits is you'll notice the string isn't even. It's kinked sometimes. Well, I've even got ones that are rusty. So that's quite surprising. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I tend to like to do outwards, inwards. So I do the high E, the low E, and then I work inwards to kind of reduce too much tension being pulled at one side of the fretboard, if that makes sense. We're thinking about longevity of these guitars. They're made out of wood after all, and so it's only a matter of time. So yeah, just stringing it through. Now this is the part of the technique that I really want to emphasize, because a lot of people use far too much string when winding it around the ends. So I personally like to just run the string through the hole. Now this doesn't have to be with locking tuners. This can be with regular. I leave enough of a gap between the string and my finger there, as you can see. And then you bend the string upwards. Sorry, the camera's gone a bit crazy on me here, so amateur hour. Yeah, so we just bend the string up so it's nice and straight. Now this is where you feel like you've got a bit on your fingers. I hold it up with one finger and the other fingers rest the string in place. So as I'm turning the string around, it's turning around over itself and on top of that piece that I've got facing up, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And so therefore I'm not having to do these crazy knots that you see everyone do, or bending over around circles, because that's just creating more of a vulnerable spot for it to break later. So this technique is just really, really, really simple. And so we're just going to wind the string until we've got tension on it. Once we've got tension on that string, that's it. Like, honestly, sorry, I've just adjusted it on the bridge there for a second. I had a little bit more than I thought I did. And then once I've got tension there, I'm going to snip it off with the pliers. That's all we need. Seriously, that's so many people got overkill on this. So I just double check it. And bam, that's it. So here I'm going to show it from a different angle. So I've strung a few more strings on, but here I can show you from one of the thicker string perspectives. So this should be the D string. Once again, tension underneath the string, pull it up from the bridge. I'm going to pull that string up nice and upwards, so straight towards the sky. Hold it with one finger whilst keeping tension with the other fingers there. And then we're going to wind that sucker on. You might feel a bit unco the first time you try this, but honestly, it's worth doing this over having lots and lots of knots. It doesn't take long to get tension. Make sure it sits on the nut properly. We've all done that. We've done the strings up and went, oh, I'm not even sitting on the nut. So let's just fix that up. Once again, that's all it takes. And we're going to snip that sucker off. That's it, really. Now, because these are locking machine heads, I am going to do up the nuts underneath. But as I said, you don't even need to with this technique. But it is a bonus feature how it pinches the string. So that, as I said before, there's like a barrel that pinches the string against the hole, and that just stops it from sliding back and forward, reducing, the guitar going out of tune. And then finally, obviously, we have to tune it. So I've got the TC Electronics tuner here. It just clips on. It can tell the vibrations through the guitar itself. I love the fact that it can measure from resonance of the string ringing through the body. And yeah, we just go through and tune it up. Now, the most important thing about this is, as we tune up, always just think of the note that comes before the note you want to get to. So for example, I'm on the high E here. So I know that we're going to get there. So it'll be D, E, and away we go. And we're going to do that. I like to approach it from either side upwards. So as I was talking about before, putting the guitar strings on, we want to just keep the tension nice and even across the fretboard as we're doing the strings up. So by doing them on each side, kind of like a cylinder head, if anyone's ever worked on a car, you don't just do each bolt up one by one in sequence. You go odds and evens to reduce too much tension pulling at one side. So this will reduce your fretboard turning into a nice concave wave that I've seen way too many years of working on guitars. So yeah, we're just tuning everything up to pitch. So this is the last part. This is the stretching in the strings.
So pick up your guitar as so. Now for strength, for bending, if you're not very good or have the dexterity, put your 3 fingers together. So we want to have your 3rd finger on the 12th fret. And on each string, what we're going to do is we're going to pluck it and pull down and bend that string. It's going to sound horrible, but what we're doing is we're stretching that string at a very even pivot point. Like that. And what this will do is that'll get your strings all pre-stretched. I can guarantee after this, when you tune your guitar again, it won't go out of tune very easily, and it'll just be general maintenance from that. So hopefully this video inspired you to change your own strings and give you that confidence. Like and subscribe if you like this content, and I'll be sure to do some more. All right, peace.